now, with the tight job market comes, you have to take the job that you can get. And, the employer is a little bit more back in control now.
Well, we used to say the millennials are entitled, which, by the way, some of them probably still are. By the way, so are boomers. Just saying. So are what's your generation?
Millennial.
Oh, millennial. And then Gen Zs, they're for sure entitled, but that's about ready to get ripped out from them. I mean, and that's what happens. What happens is things get real, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I'm out of cash. Maybe things aren't as good as they were, and that's all it is. It's just life. It's experience.
It is. But you have to look at, it's interesting to see some of the things that the Trump administration is currently doing to tackle some of this affordability and things that they've proposed or things that, we think as far as on the housing front. Now, we were watching Sunday Morning yesterday, and Trump is already looking at taking tariffs off certain food like beef, bananas, coffee. And the reason he's doing that is that tariffs make things more expensive. So he's, even though he said they didn't, but now he's taking the tariffs off because they do. And so anyways, he's doing that because people need to be able to afford food. Food's a big one because every time you go to the grocery store, which is at least once, if not twice a week, you are reminded how expensive food is, right? I am even. But if you're paycheck to paycheck, you're definitely reminded of it. And so to give people relief on food is huge.
Yeah, it's food. One of I guess a bright spot is housing. Not necessarily the single family housing, because single family housing, last I looked, we were still well over 400 on the average for the nation. And rates haven't really come down that much. So it's really not that affordable there. However, on the rent side, it's a renter's market right now. Like, there's just so much supply that hit the market that it just disrupted the markets, and that's good, because if you're a renter, I looked the other day, it's 38% cheaper to rent than buy right now nationally. Of course, it's different in every city, but that's a good thing, because people can get a month free, 2 months free in many, many markets right now, and that's a 20-30% discount.
It is, but you also have to think too that somebody's got to come expand Section 8 essentially, or give some kind of vouchers to middle class families, and we're seeing this in parts of Michigan actually, where they've expanded housing vouchers to, I think you can make $120,000 a year as a family. Because people do need help on the rent side. And a lot of people could say, well, why don't you just cap the landlords on how much they can charge for rent? But when you do that, then you don't have any new apartments, right?
If you
don't
cap
have new housing.
Cap my expenses, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Like, you cap my expenses and cap my income, then that makes sense. But you can't just do one.
Right, because then people aren't going to build, right? And so you need people to build because you need places for people to live. And a lot of it, the red tape of building and the cost of building. So, I was just listening to something the other day about the Palisades fire and how, only 5% of those homes have been restarted so far. But one of the big reasons is all the red tape that they have makes it too expensive to rebuild. If you have too many regulations and it's too expensive, then people aren't going to want to build.
Of course. What do you think a builder goes through?
Exactly.
Like, come on, guys. Like, this is like, finally it came out of Wall Street, and what Main Street's now seeing it. This is exactly what we deal with every day. It's, you guys, we would build as cheap as we could. I don't think people realize that. Like, if I could, I would build 1,000 plus affordable homes. 1,000% I would do that with no profit. I would literally do it for hardly any profit. I can't. I can't, because of what you're talking about, like the red tape, the bureaucracy. It's a mess, and interest rates are high too, right? Because I'm going to need a loan to do that. But people would deliver affordable housing if they could. And
something that we're seeing, like a lot of states doing, I know we have a deal like this in Texas, is that giving tax credits to landlords that build part of the homes affordable. So if you build a 300 unit, apartment building, if you do 20% of the homes that they stay quote unquote affordable, then you do get some kind of tax credit. So that's something that, we might see more of because, it sounds great. Like Mandani wants to build a bunch of free units with it, but it's more expensive for the state to build apartment units. We saw that in California when it was what, like, it was at $1 million.
They completely messed it up.
Yeah, it was
Just
insane.
Google how California tried to do affordable housing, and it's a flipping joke.
Well, it's really expensive, right? It doesn't make sense.
But it was payoffs. It was politician payoffs.
Yep. Yep.
That drove the prices up. Just look, there's multiple articles on the corruption around that. The city should be a private. The city should offer the credits, or the state, and the private person should do it, and they should be oversight. There should be some oversight. But the problem is the city can't be trusted with building housing.
There's a lot of process to building, and it's just, you see it. I mean, look at California. You see it. They don't get anything done because they take forever. And then everyone's getting paid off, and then they're throwing in money for themselves, and there's just a bunch of red tape, and it just doesn't work. Plus, then once you build them, you have to manage them, right? So we saw that in Chicago in the projects is, it's so dangerous there. They actually rip part of it down because you actually have to manage the property too, and the government's not good at that either.
That.
I mean, imagine the Postal Service managing a property and all the things that we deal with as landlords on a property. You have to be proactive to keep it nice where people actually want to live and it to be safe.
Right. Like when FedEx and UPS came out, which are private companies, now public, of course, but what it did is it made the post office better.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it.
Yeah.
Right. Like everybody was like, there was all this thing of going postal, right? I mean, it was a mess. Well, just, so the more people doing the same thing delivers better service, right? So, and that's the issue. It's by the way, LIHTC or low income tax credits are something that's been around a long time. We've done them, and they're extremely good for the economy, right? They're just hard to get. There's a process, just like the low income HUD, housing and urban development deals as well. There's a number of programs there, but you're dealing with the government to try to build something.